Right, okay, guys. So today is the April group coaching call, and we are talking about meal planning. We're going to try and set some strategies to make a meal plan so that it's going to take a bit longer now, but the idea is eventually we can do it in like 15 minutes once a week and just have a bit of a meal plan going for the week ahead. So, obviously, everyone's going to have slightly different requirements. Some people are feeding bigger families or young children or older children, and different, working, not working. So everyone's going to be a bit different. So I'm going to try and keep it a little bit generic, but make it easy for you guys to kind of know where to put the personal stuff in. But let's crack on. And if you've got any questions, then obviously you can just ask, and hopefully it will kind of make sense as we go through. So meal planning, it is one of those things that I think it feels quite onerous before you start and you think, oh my God, how am I going to meal plan? But actually, you don't have to be really prescriptive and meal plan every minute detail of your every meal you're going to have, but just having a rough, even if it's like a rough idea or just having dinners planned, it just means that you can feel a little bit more organized. And I think the time when we fall down is more in the evenings when we get home and we're tired and things haven't gone how we wanted to in the day, and maybe we don't have what we need in the fridge or whatever, and that's when it all goes a little bit wrong. So a little bit of meal planning just helps. So it helps us to feel a bit more organized and to stick to the plan. It also helps, with time saving as well, because if we know what we're eating, sometimes we can batch cook, or maybe, if you're preparing a certain food for Monday night's dinner, but actually you're having something similar on Tuesday night, maybe you'll double prep something so you've got it in the fridge ready for the next night. It just helps you to feel a bit more organized and save a bit of time. It can also be more cost effective because, of course, then you're not having so much food waste and you're buying what you need, rather than some people will just sort of do a massive big shop but not actually know what they're buying the food for and what meal each the food's going to be used for. So I think it does reduce waste and does save money when you can meal plan. So I mean, Lubko and Rocco, you've joined us tonight. Is there anything that particularly stressful for you about meal planning? Is there anything that you find particularly difficult or that is a big struggle for you to meal plan?
I'll be honest, I've never done it. I
Okay.
don't. It's like a last minute, okay, what's for dinner?
Yeah. Okay. Well,
That's,
like you might
that's
find this
how it goes.
really changing. You might find this makes a real difference because I know obviously, with your schedule, because I know you, Rocco, I know that, there's lots of kids and there's lots of different activities and you're teaching all the time as well. And you've got lots of other commitments as well. So actually meal planning, especially for dinner, is probably going to really help you out. Um, so, and Lubka, what do you think? Do you meal plan?
I used to know what I'm gonna cook, but now it just drives me crazy because if I don't know what we're having and then last minute decision, then we just go, oh, let's go out, or you know what I mean? Then you just made such a bad decision if
Yeah.
you leave it to last minute. So, but because my husband wants to eat something else, and so then I find it hard to make a decision what to have. So that's why, yeah,
Yeah.
would be
You-
no it would be good to know.
Yeah. Are you feeding kids or is it just you and your husband?
No, also, I got 13-year-old son, and
Yeah.
my husband's got a 17-year old, so they
Okay.
would eat similar. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So again, some days you probably have more in the house, less in the house, so you don't always know. So planning can be quite helpful for that. So So let's talk a bit about like how we meal plan, and then we'll actually have a go at building a meal plan. So the first thing that I recommend is obviously choosing one day a week where you do the meal plan for the week ahead. So normally I would do it on a Sunday because I just feel like that's a time when like there's normally a bit of time in the day to do something like that, and I'm thinking about the week ahead. But it depends really on what your schedule's like. If you're working full time, or maybe weekends are more busy for you because you're working weekends, or they're different. Everyone's got a slightly different schedule. I personally think a Sunday quite good. And then I would schedule my food shop probably to come like on the Monday, so that I've got time on the Sunday to edit my order and make sure that things are coming the next day for that food shop. The other thing that I will point out is that for a lot of if you do online shopping, normally if you're paying a flat rate, then the deliveries are unlimited. So you can plan your meals, but maybe have 2 deliveries come in the week, which if you're paying a flat fee and you're not paying extra for each individual delivery, it's not costing any more money to do that, but it's enabling you to just get for the next few days and not feel sort of overwhelmed with what's coming in, and B, also you've got a bit more sort of clarity on what you've got in the fridge and what you're using, and you know if a shop's coming a few days later. So sometimes instead of having a weekly shop, but having a twice weekly shop is a bit easier for planning as well. So if you do online shopping, that might be something to look at and see if you've got the allocation to do unlimited shops, and then you can kind of play around with it a little bit as well. Once you've got your day, obviously think about what the week ahead is looking like. And some things are going to be regular. So you know that every Wednesday you work till 6 o'clock, but some weeks are going to vary from other week because there's special activities going on, or social arrangements, or it's the school holidays or religious festivals. So every week is going to be slightly different, but there will also be those common things that happen every week as well. So I think it is worth sitting down and just being aware of that whole week ahead of you. You know, how many people am I making dinner for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? Am I in or out the office those days? Do I need to be taking lunch with me? Because it might be a different lunch if you're having it in the office or if you're having it at home, or maybe you're out all day, and so you know it's going to make a slight difference. So again, that's going to be slightly different. So just being aware of what your week is looking like ahead is going to be helpful. And then also, I think what is quite nice sometimes is to have like themes. So to have, it just makes it easier in your head. If you know that certain days are certain themes, it can be quite a helpful way to meal plan, you know, either in your head or when you're sitting writing out some plan. So you might have, you know, like meat-free Monday, or you might have fish Friday, you know, and things like that. Just ways to kind of make it very easy for you to kind of get in your head, okay, so it's meatless Monday, so we're going to have, you know, tofu or whatever, or some lentils, or, you know, whatever it is, but it just makes it a bit easier to get your head around what you're doing for individual nights. So that's quite a good way to do it as well, is to have themes. The other thing that I think is really useful is there's 2 different ways that when I'm meal planning what I do. So the first way is that there's certain vegetables or sides that I like to serve with certain proteins. So for example, if I'm making bolognese, I will always have that with peas and cabbage because that's just what I like, and I think you guys see me post that all the time. But so I know, okay, so bolognese is peas and cabbage, but then there might be other times when it's nice to like pick a mix a little bit. So I know I've bought maybe 4 or 5 different vegetables for the week, and I know that will do me for like 2 dinners. And so I might have salmon with 2 of the vegetables and chicken with 2 or 3 of the vegetables, and kind of pick and mix it a little bit as well. So they're 2 slightly different ways of approaching it, but they both work quite nicely. So you can do things like that. The other thing I like to do sometimes is to think about the colours on the plate when I'm meal planning. So maybe I'll do a whole sort of green veg theme one night, where we might have, you know, asparagus, green beans and spinach, because all those fresh, lovely green colours on the plate's really nice. And then another day it might be, oh, I want to kind of eat a rainbow more tonight. So it'll be, you know, something orange, something red, something yellow, and do it that way instead. So again, there are different ways of kind of visualizing the meal. So it just makes it a little bit easier when you're planning. So you can think about things in that way as well. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a bit of fun, really. So I've got a meal planner template that we're going to look at. And the idea being, did you print them off? I don't know if you printed them off, but it doesn't matter if you didn't. But they're on the portal, on the membership. And if you I've also put it on the Facebook group today as well for you guys to print off. So they're quite, but you can also just use a notepad and just do it yourself. But what is quite useful on this, on the template one that's on the portal, is I've then, if you can see, there's sections for all the different food groups.
Yeah, I got that.
So, you know, I've got all the proteins, the leafy greens, the cruciferous vegetables, other vegetables, fruits, and healthy fats. They're just a way of splitting it up. So that's another thing that's quite useful. If you've got a list like this, you can just kind of go through and get different ideas. Okay, so it just helps you to kind of, again, use that kind of pick a mix idea just to build your meal plan that way. So it's quite quick if you've got all the different foods in front of you. And then I would actually take this and personalize it for you. So for example, on here, there's minced beef. But if you're somebody that's, you know, trying to really reduce your intake of red meat and you don't want to have red meat in the house, then just cross it off the list. Or maybe if you don't eat shellfish and there's, you know, there's lobster and crab on the list or something, cross that off because you don't eat it or if there's an allergy, and just go through the list. And if there's certain foods on there that you know that, you know, half the family really aren't going to eat, they're not going to touch it, it's a waste of time having it, you know, even trying to make it for dinner, just cross it off. And then you're refining these lists for yourself and making it really personalized. And if you do that and save it on a computer on your laptop, you can just print it off every week and you've got your go-tos of all the different foods that your family will eat in a week. And it gives you a really quick way just to go through and sort of pick a protein, pick a leafy green, pick a vegetable, and you're building the plate that way. So it's quite a nice way to get a bit of variety and to make it quite easy and quick because it's all in front of you. And then what's easy is that then becomes your shopping list. So if you make your own template from this template, that then becomes your shopping list. So it makes food shopping much easier because you've got your meal plan and then you've got your shopping list. So it should filter through quite easily. So that is, I think, a good way to do it. So I always start with dinner when I'm meal planning because dinner tends to be the meal that I would want to meal plan the most. Breakfast, I've only got one at home at the moment that goes to school. He had breakfast at school, so I don't really have to worry about breakfast. And for me, I always have my protein shake. My husband sorts himself out a smoothie and takes it to work with him. So breakfast is really easy in my house. It's not really a thing. So I just write in my meal plan every day, protein shake, protein shake. But you might have your overnight oats or your eggs. But breakfast, I think, if you look on the portal, there's loads of breakfast ideas on there, but I really recommend with breakfast that you maybe just have 2, maximum 3 breakfast options that are your go-tos, and you just stick with those because for most of us, especially Monday to Friday, breakfast is in a rush and it's just something quick and easy. So I would say just breakfast, keep it really simple. And then I would build my dinner meal plan first because sometimes what's in the dinner becomes the leftovers for lunch the next day. So once you've got your schedule in front of you the week ahead, if you know, for example, Wednesday you're working from home and it's a really busy day, maybe Tuesday night you'll make sure that you're making something that you can make leftovers from and that is something really easy for you just to warm up or even eat cold the next day for your lunch so that you're making it easy. Whereas if Wednesday is a day that you're out all day and you don't need to have lunch at home, you know, maybe you're going to your friend for lunch that day or whatever, then the Tuesday night could be something different that doesn't need leftovers. So again, each week might be different, but I think it is worth thinking when you're planning which dinner you're having for which night, what is the next day looking like? Am I going to need leftovers the next day? So it is a little bit of thinking, but if you've got your diary in front of you and you've got your days mapped out on a piece of paper or you know using the template like this, it should become quite clear where you're putting what meal. You know, again, everyone's going to be a little bit different, but it should start to become clear where you want to put each meal. Any questions so far or any thoughts?
It's not a problem like to choose, but I just think we're having the similar meals, like we get bored of chicken or you know, if I don't want to have a red meat. So it's more like I know there is so many recipes, but you know, that takes time to go through the ingredients and then think, you know, do I have everything, you know? So that's more time consuming to think about the new recipes or the new ideas, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Yeah, okay. So what I would do is I would start the first time you're meal planning, I would just do meals that you know how to make and you're comfortable with, and you know that the family generally will eat most of, because it just makes it easier. Once you get sort of into week 2 or 3 and you feel like you've got the swing of it and you know what you're doing, then it's really easy to make rotation, take one meal out, swap it for something else, or go on the recipe list on the Sunday when you're meal planning. And if you want to do chicken, but you want to do it a bit different, go on the chicken menu and have a look and see which recipes have got, for chicken, and then make sure all those ingredients are either in or on your shopping list to come the next day. So you do need to probably look ahead a bit and think about it if you want to do a completely new dish. But I would only do that one, maximum 2 nights a week. Otherwise, I think you're going to overwhelm yourself. And I think make sure you're doing that on a day when you know you're going to have the time to do that. The other thing that's really is cheating, but really amazing is as a new tool that's we're all using now, is ChatGPT. So you can always, if you've got chicken breast and chickpeas and chili in the house, and you're like, oh, what can I make with that tonight? Then you could always put it into ChatGPT and it will give you a few, and you can say straightforward, easy recipes with chicken, chili, and chickpeas, and you'll get 3 or 4 recipes, and they'll all be really easy recipes that you could follow. So it's another option that you could try.
Mm-hmm.
That's really quite good. So if you know, say for example, Tuesday night you're having chicken thighs and you're having courgettes and mushrooms and brown rice, but you could always put those ingredients in ChatGPT and get some alternative ways of spicing it up or serving it, or putting different flavors on it. Or obviously you could use the recipe library. But I think if you've got specific 3 or 4 specific ingredients that you want to pull together for that night, then ChatGPT is really good for that. So I do use that sometimes just to get ideas. So that might be a way to kind of create a bit of variety without overcomplicating it.
That's very
Have you tried ChatGPT for recipes?
Yeah, I did. It's just because it's when you don't plan and the last minute thing, that's where I think I get stressed when I do it last minute. If I know what I'm doing, then I'm absolutely fine. When you can, that's the thing. If it's
Yeah,
not planned,
yeah. And
isn't
it's
it?
also
That's
making sure
just
you've
put
got
the
the right,
stress.
having the
Yeah.
right ingredients in the fridge that night, isn't it? Because it's all well and good thinking, oh, I'm making curry tomorrow night, but then you open the fridge that tomorrow night and that you're missing 2 or 3 of the ingredients, and it just throws everything off. So I would definitely, on the Sunday or whatever day of the week you're doing your meal plan for the week, it is worth cross-checking your fridge and the store cupboard, and adding onto that shopping list for the next day delivery, or whenever the imminent delivery, just making sure you've got everything in. Because I think most of us do take advantage of online delivery for our foods, but we don't use it to optimize and make everything as easy as possible. I know that I'm guilty of that as well. I'll forget the deadline and then I won't add on things that I needed for specific recipes. So I'll have a big food shop come and I'll still be popping out to Tesco's to get the odd ingredient that I've forgotten to add to the shopping list in time. And that's just really frustrating, and it does add to the stress. So if you can sit down on the Sunday and make the plan, but then cross check it against what you've got in and make sure that the stuff is coming in on the shopping list. If you don't have it, then at least on that day you're going to feel a bit more organized. And if you've scheduled that meal for a day when you're at home a bit more, you're home earlier, then that's of course also going to make it easier. Because sometimes I think we think, oh, I'm going to make this lovely dish tomorrow night, and then tomorrow night comes and you've forgotten that actually someone's got football practice, someone else has got netball or drama, or there's something else going on, or you've been at work all day and you've had 4 or 5 meetings back to back and you're coming home knackered, and it's not really the night to be making that brand new complicated dish. So just planning ahead a little bit just means that you can slot that new dish into a day when it's going to work for you. And of course, once you've made it once or twice, it then can become a regular, and you can do it on a day when you are particularly busier, because you know how you're making it and you know what you're doing, and it just becomes part of your routine. So if it's a dish that you like, it can just become rotated. I would also do that. I would also have a list of maybe, it might start off with 5 dinners combos that all the family like, and I would just keep adding to that list in a notebook or on a Word document or my notes on my phone, and then you'll end up with maybe 10, 12, 14 recipes, dinners that you can then start to rotate into your meal plan. So you'll know that Wednesday night is chicken night, but if you look through your list of rotated meals, there'll be 4 or 5 chicken dishes, and you can just slot one in or slot the other one in to replace it. So it's still chicken, but it's just you've got a few alternatives for dishes that you make and you're comfortable making, and that people are going to like. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if we start with dinner, I mean, if we were thinking of doing, say, let's just do Monday to Friday for the sake of the workshop tonight. But if you've got this list, you've got all the list of proteins at the top.
Yeah, I got that.
So what you want to do is every evening you want to put I would put in like a different protein. Chicken tends to be something we have twice a week. We all like chicken and it's easy. But one night might be beef, one night chicken, and then I put salmon, and then I put cod, and then I do chicken again or something like that. So I will make sure that each dinner I've got my protein in. And then on the list as well, I've got the leafy greens and the cruciferous vegetables, and then other vegetables. And I split it up like that because we want to make sure that we're getting a nice range of different vegetables in our daily diet. So the leafy greens are so important for iron and for vitamin K and potassium and things like that. So it's really it's on part of the eat better, feel better framework, if you like, is having leafy greens at least once a day. So I've put them as a separate heading, not just under vegetables. They're on their own just to highlight them and to make sure that you do choose most days to have some sort of leafy green. And then the same with the cruciferous vegetables. I've put those separate as well because, again, they're really important for hormone balance. They're really important for our liver health. Again, they've got lots of other nutrients in them as well. We were talking about broccoli being anti-cancer and all that. They're a really important group of vegetables. So I put them separate as well. So if you can try and make sure that you might not get a leafy green and a cruciferous vegetable in every single meal time in dinner, but if you can try and spread them out over the week to make sure you're getting a nice combination, then that's going to be really good. And then I've done a list of all other vegetables. There's loads on here. So you can just, again, pick and mix a few different vegetables. And like I say, think about colors, think about textures. Are you going to do all greens? Are you going to do the rainbow? Are you going to do vegetables that you can steam together in one pot? Are you going to do vegetables that roast really nicely together? Are you going to do vegetables that stir fry? So just think about how you're going to cook them, probably, and what you want, have a vision in your mind of what it's going to look like to try and help you to put the vegetables together. So you want to end up for each evening having one protein and then a leafy green or a cruciferous vegetable or both, and then at least one other vegetable. So that's where I would start, and then I would build that up. I would do that for a week and then see, okay, well, that was really good. I can swap that vegetable out and put this vegetable in, or maybe I'll add a second vegetable to that meal, make it a bit more filling or a bit more interesting. And then you've also got your starchy carbs that you want to put in for dinners as well. So sometimes, we, like the women in the family, we like to kind of keep our starchy carbs lower, especially in the evening. But generally the husbands and the teenage boys, they tend to need their carbs at dinner. So I would still put them in the meal plan because somebody's probably going to want them. And by all means, I enjoy my carbs at dinner as well. If, I always say I'll have starchy carbs once or twice a day, but I wouldn't have them with every time I'm eating. So sometimes I'll have potatoes or rice or whatever in the evening as well. So put your starchy carb in. And again, you want to mix it up a little bit. So, you've got brown rice, you've got potatoes, you're going to do new potatoes, you're going to do baked potatoes, or you get pasta if you want to do pasta one night. But again, just being organized and putting those in and choosing where you want to put them. So maybe you like having brown rice with your salmon, you know, or you want to have quinoa with your chicken. So just trying to place it. So I think when you put the protein down for each night, then I think it's quite easy to build the vegetables and the starchy carb option around that. Does that make sense? So then once I've done that, I'm then thinking, okay, so I'll look at the meals that I've put in and which ones do I want to have leftovers ready for the next day. And I will, you know, either put a star or underline it or write leftovers in brackets or make extra, however you want to do it. But I would make a note so I know that for that dinner, I don't just need 4 chicken breasts, I need 6 chicken breasts because we want leftovers for the next day or whatever it might be. Or I'm going to double it up because it freezes really well and I can put it in the freezer and have it another time, you know, such as like bolognese, for example. I might make double or even treble the portion, knowing I can then freeze it for other nights. So once you've done your dinner, I would then go back and I would look, okay, well, that dinner on Tuesday night, I want leftovers. That dinner, I might batch cook it and make a bit extra so I can put it in the freezer. And then you'll look at your arrangements for the following days, and maybe you'll swap 2 of the meals around because one day you're at home for lunch and you want the leftovers that day. So just being aware of that. And like I say, every week and every person that's going to be slightly different for. But I think you know what I mean when I'm saying that. I think if you're looking if you had the meal plan in front of you with your diary, it would be quite obvious to you which days you want to make extra, which days you need leftovers for lunch, etc. And you might be someone that had leftovers for lunch most days because you take lunch to the office with you most days, or you've got kids at home that want to take leftovers for packed lunch the next day. So you might be someone that really does need to rely on leftovers quite a lot to make your lunchtime much easier for you and the family. It might not just even be you that needs it. So again, that would help you to put your shopping list together because you know you're making X number of portions of each dinner over the week. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got your dinners and you've got your breakfast. So then it's just lunch. And hopefully, like I say, lunch, some of those days are going to be leftovers. And then other days, we've got loads of lunches, haven't we, that we talk about on Eat Better, Feel Better. We talk about them in the group. And sometimes we'll share what's for lunch. And I do a lot of 5-minute lunches on Instagram. I think I share them on Facebook usually as well, but they're definitely on Instagram, the 5-minute lunches. So again, I would pick maybe 3 5-minute lunches or 5 lunches that you like and put those into your schedule, onto your meal plan, and make sure again you've got those ingredients. So often for lunch I'll use tinned foods, or I'll use tinned chickpeas or tinned lentils, or like the dried lentils, or I'll use tinned tuna or eggs. So lunch tends to be more of like the staple stuff. So again, if you want to put that in your meal plan, you can do. Or if you know that 3 days you've got leftovers for lunch and the other 3 days you need to make sure you've got tuna, eggs and cottage cheese in, because those are going to form the basis of your lunch. But it doesn't really matter what days that week you're going to have them, so long as you've got them in and you can play around with it. And then again, you want to think about, are you going to have like crudités or salads? So do you need to make sure for lunches that you've got cucumbers and peppers in that you can cut up easily and make as crudités, or chop up to put into your salad with a bag of spinach or whatever. So you can put those into your meal plan for your lunches, and then again add those to your shopping list, so that you might find that not every week you need the same food, because sometimes you've got food left over, or it's store cupboard food, like rice or pasta. You won't need to buy that every week, but I would put it on the shopping list and then check it and just see if you need it or not. But it's normally quite a good way just to check that you're not over shopping on the one hand, but on the other hand that you have got everything in that you need to make the dishes that you're planning to make for that week. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions?
No.
Yeah,
It's,
okay.
yeah, when you talk about it, it sounds really easy.
I hope so. I hope I'm not complicated. I think it is also one of those things that the first time you do it, it might take you 45 minutes because you've not done it before, and maybe you're overthinking it and you've got to get your little system in place. You know, you've got to start your template for your shopping list, etc. But if you do it for 2 or 3 weeks, it gets quicker and quicker every time. And also what you can do is if you keep hold of your meal plans, at week 4, you could just do week 1's meal plan again. No one's going to notice in the family or care if it's repeated from 3 weeks ago. No one remembers. We like to think they do, but they really don't pay any attention unless it's something they don't like. So I would definitely, once you've built up a little repertoire, a little book of meal plans, don't feel like you've got to reinvent the wheel every week. Go back and use that meal plan again, and you might just swap out 1 or 2 meals, or you might just duplicate the whole meal plan again because it worked and it's easy. So it doesn't need to be like a big onerous job that you're sitting and it's loads of paper and really stressful, and it should be quite easy and straightforward once you get used to it. And it is just one of those things that's like all habits. When you start them, they're hard, or a bit overwhelming, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. And then you've also got, if you wanted to meal plan your snacks, you have got the how to snack list on the portal with a big list of, I did print it out to have to hand. I don't think I've got it here, but you've got the list of the sweet and savoury snacks for the snacking guide on the portal. And again, I would have that to hand, and I would maybe each week pick 2 or 3 from the list and make sure I've got those ingredients in, and those would be my snacks for that week. And then the next week I might pick a different 2 or 3 and just play around with it that way. So I don't need to have every single ingredient for every single snack in every week. It's just, alternating it and playing around with it, and that gives you a bit of variety as well. No, I don't know if Rochelle's listening, because I know she's muted. Catching her out now. She's unmuted. Hi.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
because obviously you said that you've never meal planned. What do you think
No,
you're
no.
saying?
So originally when I came on, I thought, oh, I should really meal plan my lunches because I'm trying to be really good. But dinner, I just kind of eat what the kids are eating, and it's mostly pretty healthy. But it's lunch where I don't want to eat bread, so I should meal plan my lunches instead. And then I'm thinking, okay, so Monday I come home about 10 minutes before the kids. Tuesday I come home after the kids. Wednesday I've got 3 extras for dinner, and Thursday I teach all day. I leave the house at 7:15 and I walk back in at 5 with the kids. So really, that's what I should meal plan instead of sitting in the car. And my daughter says to me, "What's for dinner?" I'm like, "I don't know. I've been out all day with you." So I don't know. I also always start my meals around a carb because that's just us. So
Okay.
it's
Would it work for you to use leftovers for lunch the next day if you've made dinner the night before?
very yes, except not when my 17-year-old is home because there's nothing left.
Yeah,
I made a pot of
17-year-old boy,
vegetables.
right?
Sorry?
17-year-old's a boy, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the
Made a
boys
big
just
pot of
eat,
vegetable soup
they're like,
yesterday and I thought, great. No, it was done by the night. It was like all the vegetables and it was delicious and I'm really pleased he's eating it, but there's not much leftovers.
yeah. So you do. I'm afraid I would probably say you just need to be a bit stricter about. I get it because I'm the same, and if my son wants to eat something healthy, I'm like throwing at him like, have as much as you want, but have a Tupperware that's for you, and put the food in there. As you're plating up the food, plate up your Tupperware as well. Put the lid on it and put it in the fridge or in the cupboard, or whatever. Put it away so that it is there for
Truth
you.
is, like you say about the beans, I quite often do like just a, tomato and chickpea or a cannellini bean, like kind of creamy stir fry thing.
Mm.
And that's fine for me. It's not a problem, really. I just need to. Thursdays I'm out all day. I need to take lunch with me. Um, but actually, I think probably I'll get more benefit out of doing dinners than anything else.
What, as in meal planning dinners?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, all I can say is have a go and see.
yeah,
Obviously, just try it and meal plan 2 or 3 days one week. Say, I'm not going to meal plan the whole week. It's
yeah,
complicated at this stage. Just meal plan 2 or 3 days and see where that takes you.
yeah. Probably the days that are busier, but then they're all, yeah,
Yeah. But I think I think if you did it for a few weeks, you'd get a real clarity and you'd get a real overview of what you're actually, you as in you and the family are eating over the course of the week. And are you getting a good balance of the proteins and the vegetables and the carbs? And
Yeah.
I know you do a lot of vegetarian meals, so are you getting enough protein in those meals? Could you, if you'd been a little bit more organized, could you have put more vegetables in that dinner, but you didn't?
But there's always vegetables.
Yeah,
I'm
why
not
not? I'm
getting,
not saying there isn't,
yeah,
but
no, I'm not getting nearly the 100 grams of protein or whatever. That's not even
Hmm.
a thought. That's not happening. But I did want to ask you, because about cruciferous vegetables, is frozen cauliflower as good as fresh from that
Um,
perspective?
yes, yeah. Generally, the frozen are fine. They have the same amount of nutrients. They're going to be little bit less fiber because they've been
Right.
frozen, and obviously they end up a little bit more. So like they're softer, aren't they? They're more
Yeah.
mushy.
Well, I generally roast it, but it is mushier. Yeah. But the kids all like that, and that's a really easy. So I often do a lot of frozen vegetables. I do like roast vegetables that are from frozen most
Really,
nights. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I mean that's great, and you are still getting all the nutrients. Just like I say, it might
Mm.
be a bit less fiber, but it will be fiber. Just obviously it's been changed a little bit because it's been cooked and broken down and
Yeah.
frozen. But no, from a nutrition point of view, in terms of the nutrients, yeah, you're still getting the benefits.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it is worth having a go and trying to sort of meal plan a little bit and just see where it takes you without making it stressful. But there probably are ways that um, we could be more efficient with our time and
Yeah.
our shopping budget, and also be a bit more adventurous maybe as well, because you're planning in advance. You've got that time, Luca, to look at a recipe and think, oh, I'm going to make that on Wednesday night and get the ingredients in and kind of know in your head, I'm making that recipe Wednesday night. And it just, so you might actually find that you bring more variety into the meal plan because you've got the opportunity to plan ahead a little bit. So it might actually mean that you're getting more variety instead of getting more boring. Instead of doing the same thing every week, you're actually able to play around with it a bit more because you've got a bit more of an oversight. So,
Mm.
okay. Any other questions? No.
Nope. I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we're good.
It actually happened.
I hope you found that really helpful. I will put the recording up. I'm going to end the recording now and then we can say goodbye because there we go.